all you Bee-a-Thoners, no matter where you are around the world. We appreciate you tuning in here on the insectnewsnetwork.com, and we want to thank everybody who helped make the Bat 3 possible. That includes our friends here at Davis Media Access. I'm giving you a behind-the-scenes look at the editing suites here at DMA. It's sort of the backbone of the Bee-a-Thon. And if you look around our website, you'll see that we are truly a multimedia enterprise. We want to use every possible platform to spread the buzz, to get the word out about honeybees, all the bees of the world, the native pollinators, the butterflies, the bats, every member of the microcosm, and this beautiful interdependence we have between humans and the microcosm. And it doesn't matter where you are around the world, if you have to tune in, whether you're a commercial beekeeper or a hobbyist, you're always looking for advice and a voice of wisdom. And in the U.S., that usually comes from Bee Culture magazine. It's a periodical that's published out of Medina, Ohio. Go Bees. And it goes back to about the time of the Civil War. During that entire time, there's only been 10 editors for the magazine, and I'm delighted to have back on the Bee-a-Thon for the second year in a row, the editor of Bee Culture, Mr. Kim Flottum. Hi, Kim. Welcome back.
Good to see you again, Emmet. Thanks.
We're delighted to have you here. And every time I talk to Kim about beekeeping, it's a compelling and extremely complex conversation. Sometimes it's good news, sometimes it's bad news, but it's always headline news. And today's interview is no different. It's going to have both. Kim is just about to release a brand new book called The Honey Connoisseur with Marina Marchese, another guest on the Bat. It's the same week. There's a headline on Time magazine, a cover story about the bee apocalypse, a world without bees. Kim, what did you think about that Time magazine article?
Well, any attention is always good attention, Emmet, and keeping bees on the front burner with all of the things that are going on in agriculture and in beekeeping is a good idea. So we always appreciate the attention and like to be able to get the word out that there's things going on that people need to be aware of. And the Time article, I think, did a pretty good job of telling what's going on. They asked the question, what's killing the bees? And they talked to all the people that know. The downside of the article, if you will, is that that's where they stop. And it's like every other problem. I can ask you questions and ask you questions, but until we have some solutions, it's not going to go anywhere. And that's kind of what Time magazine did here. They asked lots of questions, but they didn't offer any really good concrete solutions, and that's what we need. And in fact, those solutions actually exist. And I wish they would have addressed them a little more pointedly.
Yeah, I guess they should have directed people to Bee Culture magazine. Now, the cover image, I think you have it with you. It's a pretty shocking image. As you can see, a world without bees on Time magazine. Of course, on the Bee-a-Thon, we're not just talking about honeybees, we're talking about all the pollinators. And I think the article addresses some of that, but we're talking mostly about industrial beekeeping. So as Kim explained to me, there's a conundrum growing in the industrial beekeeping world, and of course, the bees are disappearing in that industrial process. And of course, the problem is at the commercial and industrial level, and that's where most of the bees are disappearing. Kim, can you explain some of the problems of that conundrum that have developed?
Well, it's really not a secret, Emmet. The scientists keep looking, and they keep dividing the problems in finer and finer pieces. But it comes down to the first biggest problem is varroa mites and all of the problems that they cause. They've unleashed viruses, and they do their own damage, and they exacerbate immune system compromise situations, and they are number one without a doubt. Deal with varroa and you will solve a lot of beekeeping problems. And there's only one way to deal with varroa, and that's not chemicals in a beehive. It's resistant bees. Find resistant bees. The second thing is that there's not enough good food all year round. And a lot of that has to do with agriculture. There's just more corn and more soybeans and more corn and more soybeans. And I don't see an end to that. But there are places to go where you can put bees where there's enough good food, but there aren't enough of them. So we need enough good food all year round. And the third reason is agriculture chemicals. And it goes with all of the agriculture. Agriculture chemicals exacerbate some of the problems that bees already have, including varroa, including the diseases that they get. Some of the parts is greater than, or the addition of the parts is greater than the sum of the whole.
Yeah.
In that, when you put all three of those together, or even two, it's a deadly situation. More food, no chemicals, and get rid of varroa.
Yeah. Now you've identified that the bees are eusocial creatures, so they have a very similar problems to any given human community might have. They're susceptible to a lot of the same diseases, dynamics, pests. The good news is that you understand that symphony of pollination, and when you get down to the hobbyist level, or the local and regional level, you can start producing some fantastic results if you provide the balance of food and nectar. And that's what your book's all about, The Honey Connoisseur. Tell us about some of the plants that maybe don't make just artisanal honey, but also could help restore the food sources.
Well, interestingly enough, Emmet, this afternoon I went back to the book. I haven't looked at it for a while. You know, when you write a tome like that, sometimes you're just done with it and you need to
Sure.
set it aside. And today I had a question that I had to go to the book and get. And one of the things that struck me, and it struck me before, but it came back and I revisited it, is the number of honey plants in this country that are not native to this country.
Ah.
And we as a beekeeping industry rely on many of those plants to make a living. A couple of classics: orange blossom honey. Oranges are not native. They're and it goes. Alfalfa is not native. Clover is not native.
Interesting.
Oh,
Without
interesting.
those, we'd be out of business. So suddenly invasive plants, if you will, begin to take on a whole new meaning for us. You know, do we begin to cater? Well, of course we begin to cater to them. Without clover, we'd be out of business. Without alfalfa, the dairy industry would be out of business. So a lot of those introduced plants have become invasive, like kudzu and tamarisk. They're just terrible, and where they've taken
In the
over.
South.
But from a beekeeper's perspective, it's a mixed blessing. Do I sit here and do I curse the invasive and harvest the honey?
Yeah,
It's a
another
sticky
conundrum.
wicket that we're in, and will any of these help? Of course they help. They help the beekeeper, and many of them are helping agriculture in general.
Sure.
On the other hand, one of the problems that we have in agriculture is monoculture. You put out 80 million acres, 90 million acres of corn, and you get a little bit of protein for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks a year. The rest of the year, it's the moon.
Yeah.
And most of these crops are like that when they become a monoculture. They're very good for a very short period of time. And I'll go back to not enough good food all year long is one of our problems.
What about your favorite plants for honey? What do you think makes the finest honey?
If I said an invasive, would you hold it against
Well,
me?
I know one of them, and that horse farmers can't stand, but it makes a killer honey. It's star thistle.
Talking about star thistle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, star thistle is one of the best. But then we got on the East Coast, we got sourwood.
Oh,
And,
sourwood.
and several times sourwood in world competition has been judged the best honey in the world.
Oh.
So I'm leaning. It's a 4951 star thistle but I think, but I wouldn't turn either of them down. But then there's blackberry.
Oh, I
Love
love
it.
You know, you just gotta look at blackberry and go, there's nothing better than that. And then there's linden. You know, linden is a whole different animal. It's got a whole different flavor profile. So, what's the best one? They're all the best.
Yeah. It depends on what you like. I like to tell people that even though I'm not a big lavender fan, if they like lavender, the bees love it twice a year. The honey flow in the spring and the fall, and it makes a delicious honey.
It does.
Yeah. Well, listen, Kim, if there's one message that you want to send out to other folks listening to the Bee-a-Thon about the state of the union for bees, the culture of beekeeping, what would that message be?
A lot of people ask me, what can I do to help the bees? And one of the questions that they have is, I'd like to become a beekeeper because I want to help the bees. And that's certainly one way to go about this. But I think probably for most people, most places, a better way to go about helping the bees is to plant some bee-friendly plants, some pollinator-friendly plants. And there's just, every little bit helps. One zinnia in your garden is going to help a bee. 1,000 zinnias are going to help 1,000 bees. 1,000,000 zinnias are going to help 1,000,000 bees. But that one, every little bit helps. So if you've got a choice, You can't become a beekeeper. It's just not in the cards where you live or
Mm-hmm.
where your life is.
Sure.
Plant some bee-friendly, pollinator-friendly plants and give bees a chance.
Yeah, that's a great thing to say. Of course, the whole Bee-a-Thon is designed to support the Xerces Society initiative, Bring Back the Pollinators. Everybody listening online, you can look right above the screen and click on that button to pledge to support the Xerces Society initiative. And also, I think that kind of advice can be given to some farmers as well. If you plant more flowers, more diverse plants, more biodiversity, more hedgerows, you bring back the bees and the symphony continues. So once again, Kim, we hope to talk to you on Bee-a-Thon 4. Kim Flottum from Bee Culture Magazine. Thanks for helping spread the buzz.
Thanks, Emmett. Good seeing you
It was a
again.
pleasure. All right, everybody, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, be more of Bee-a-Thon 3, only on the Insect News Network.